All right. And we're back for our part 2 here. Um, super long episode, so the first one there is just gonna be the full tournament preview. Then we're gonna do the second one here. This will be our awards picks, which was very hard. So we'll start off. I think player of the year is the easiest one ever. Let me fix my. You can go ahead and give your Vontarius Woolbright reasoning, what all he's done this year, while I fix the teleprompter here.
Okay, give me one sec. Yeah, Woolbright has just run away with this award. He's been far and away the best player in the league all year long. Just broke Steph Curry's record for SoCon Player of the Week awards at 9. While we kind of expected more from Western Carolina, they underachieved a little bit in the league. It's nothing to do with Woolbright. He's got a league leading 26 double doubles and a nation leading 5 triple doubles. I mean, he's been great all year. His usage rate is crazy. Like every play of theirs ends with him making some kind of a decision. So, you know, if they didn't have him, they'd be in a lot worse spot, which, isn't saying a lot because, we all know how great he is. So, this is Woolbright's award, and I don't think any type of media vote would be particularly close.
Muted.
There you go.
My bad, I was muted. Yeah, I don't think there's any. I don't think it's a question. I made a big long post. If you want to go to my Twitter and search up Woolbright or whatever in my thing, I've made basically a whole story about it without having a place to write, about why Woolbright is the player of the year. And this before he put up a triple double against Furman the other night, and then now put up another triple double against Chattanooga, which is weird that he's finished a couple games now without a triple double, and then the next day they changed the stats to give him a triple double. We can say we talk about Corey Tripp being the ethical hoops king, him, getting 25 points with no free throws. Woolbright may be the opposite, getting our Blaine Woodruff said SoCon LeBron, and then going for fouls so much, and also he maybe SoCon Westbrook, maybe going for a little stat padding, trying to get a whatever, and saying that LeBron and Westbrook are two of the greatest of all time. So also very good things to be, but it is funny because he does that does mean something to him and means something to those Western Carolina people for sure, because they are tweeting at the home team after every game that he gets close to numbers. Hey, give him that assist, and it's like, what assist did y'all watch? And you're like, how's that not an assist? Like, I don't know, it's crazy. So, but yeah, he's been awesome. He's the player of the year. Where do you want to go next? You want to go defensive player of the year? I think this one's fairly easy too, and it's based off his finish to the year. To me, I got Jaden Parker. I think Jaden Parker has been unreal. He has like a 10% block percentage or something like that. I can't remember what the number was exactly, but he's top 20 in the nation in block percentage. He's really changed the game late in the year. He was, start of the year, I really thought he was a promising player, and now I think he's a really good player, if that makes sense. He's, made a leap from being a guy who I thought had a really good future to a guy like the future's now for him. And next year he's got to build on this, and he's going to be a good player next year for him, I believe. But man, he's been a real difference maker on defense. He's really learned how to use his length well. And I always lean towards a big in defensive player of the year, whether that be in mid-major hoops or in the NBA. I think bigs can normally have a bigger impact on defense, and just protecting the rim. It's a lot hard. You can have way more impact blocking layups or keeping teams from shooting layups rather than the guard, pressuring the ball and making a guy turn the ball over. It's just harder to win it as a guard, and that's why I don't go with the Kobe Langley there. And then I think Parker's definitely had a better conference play than Sam Alexis. I thought Sam Alexis was running away with the award early in the year, and I think he's struggled at times. Like I think Quentin Malora-Brown also has a decent case just because of how well he rebounds the ball, and he also affects shots with his length. He doesn't have quite the block numbers the others do, but I think he's been awesome. But I thought he was even better than Alexis to end the year. So voice crack, that was nice. But you can go ahead and give your pick.
Yeah, I went with Kobe Langley.
Okay.
Jaden Parker finished strong, but what I've seen from Kobe Langley throughout all of non-conference play and during the SoCon plays, he's just such a dominant defender at the guard position. And I do understand, going for a wing or a big when it comes to defensive player of the year, but everything that UNC Greensboro does defensively revolves around Kobe Langley. He's averaging 2.3 steals a game, which is second place is AJ State McCray at like 1.6 or 1.7, I think. Langley's defensive rating is 100.2, and his defensive blocks plus minus is 3.1. And like we said, Sam Alexis early in the year looked like he was running away with it, and Jaden Parker finished strong. But I just think Kobe Langley has been great the whole season, and there hasn't been lulls with him. Like he's there every night defensively, whether he's shooting the ball well or not. So I went with Langley here to repeat.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think like in my opinion, I think Parker was good enough early, but that you definitely make a good point in that, there wasn't any ups or downs with Langley. Like he's been who he is all year. So freshman of the year. I thought this one was kind of hard.
I did too.
But were you between the Mercer guys? I'm assuming.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I took David Thomas. I thought he was consistently better, if that makes sense. I feel like he had more of an impact night in and night out than Davis did, but I don't think it's like you can pick either of them and I wouldn't be upset. Obviously, early in the year, it was on a bad Mercer team. Now it's been on a good Mercer team, and I think Davis has stepped up more now. So maybe that's why you would pick him. But for me, I took David Thomas. I think he's got a really big future in the SoCon if if Gary stays and he ends up staying there.
Yeah, I went with Davis just because kind of the same reason I went with Kobe Langley is just longevity. I mean, he came off the bench the first 8 games, and then after that, he started the rest of the year, and like it didn't seem like his spot was ever in question or anything like that. He just became too valuable to replace. 9.2 points and 4.5 rebounds. He's come up in some big spots for them shooting the ball, and I think he's been a little more solid. Like Thomas is solid defensively, but I like Davis's ability to defend some of the wings of the league. And again, he's done it the entire year. Where Thomas, there was a bit of a learning curve for him. The Mercer team was bad, but Davis just came on a little earlier than Thomas, so I went with Davis.
You mean? Oh yeah, my bad. I was
Davis,
totally messed up.
David Thomas, yeah.
David, yeah. All right. Let's go to our created award, newcomer of the year. Maybe a SoCon will do this year. It's not our created award. All like so many conferences do this. I don't know why they don't. It's just a good award. Better than even a 6th man of the year, in my opinion, because 6th man of the year is hard to pick in college because a lot of times guys are in and out of the starting lineup. They don't have defined 6-man roles like in the NBA. But I think newcomer of the year is really good. Is award they should have. We're gonna pick that. I think I know who yours is. Who's yours?
Yeah, I'm proud of myself for picking this at the beginning of the year and midseason.
True.
So I am gonna stay with Rylan Jones. Just what he's done for this Sanford team is so big. He's in the top of the country in terms of assist turnover ratio. He's playing the most minutes on a buckyball team. He's there at the front of that full court press, night in and night out, making it hard on opposing guards while also, staying sharp mentally when it comes to running the offense. And he's really just from, the minute they signed him, I just thought he was the perfect guy to run this fast-paced offense, and we've seen that come to fruition the entire year.
Yeah. So I also have Rylan Jones. I told Matt pre-show that I was like, well, let me pick someone else just because, so we can talk about someone else. But I don't think you can pick someone else. Rylan Jones has been awesome. But in saying all that, I will talk about a few guys I think are deserving of mentions. Jan Zedek, who we talked about earlier, who that was my preseason pick. And like I said earlier, he made me feel dumb for picking him at times this year. And then he's finished the year and made me feel, better about that pick. But then I think Quentin Malora Brown, I love showing him love because he's just the greatest like glue guy role player ever. He's probably a step above that in the SoCon, but he's a difference maker. And like we've talked so many times, he has to go up against so many good players. The Woolbrights, the Mikal Brown Jones, Sam Alexis on nights, Achor, Jermaine Marshall. He's got to go up against so many good bigs, night in and night out, and he's done such a good job. I think he almost averages a double double. I'm not sure if he does. I think he may, but I can't remember the exact numbers. But yeah, he's had a great year, and I think Jaden Parker deserves a mention too because he's had a really good year, especially on the defensive end. He's a cornerstone piece for that team building in the future.
Yeah, a bunch of those ETSU guys deserve shout outs. Peterson was good all year, and so was Ebi
Really,
Asamoah. So, I mean, they're not in the conversation for that award, but, they do deserve a shout out for what they've done.
yeah, we haven't spoke on them really at all, and I don't have Peterson or Asamoah anywhere in any awards because they've been so inefficient at times. And really, the whole year, I think Asamoah is shooting like 39% from the field this year, um, which is not good. But that's kind of the player he is, where, partially why I think they could do damage in the tournaments because he can get hot and that's, he can be the best player on the court any given night. But yeah, that's mainly why I didn't pick him for anything. Coach of the year, Bucky McMillan deserves Coach of the Year. We both agree on that. I think the whole world agrees on that. I said this. I don't know if I actually have announced this to anyone. So I vote on for USWBA or USBWA. Gosh, I'm a member and I vote for awards, so like All American and stuff like that for them for their awards, which are respected, but not like obviously not the main award. But for Coach of the Year, I put Bucky McMillan for third. I had Lamont Paris as my Coach of the Year, and I totally can't. Maybe I put Dan Hurley, but I don't think I did. I think Dan Hurley for second, and the National Coach of the Year is. I don't know why he's getting National Coach of the Year. They just won the title last year, and then they're really great again this year. But whatever, we're not talking about that here. But that's how good I think Bucky McMillan has been. That I thought he deserved a mention for third place on the National Coach of the Year. Granted, this team's awesome, super talented. We talked about that, and you can minimize that by saying like there wasn't much coaching needed to do, but at the same time, this system's been awesome, and he's the one who got all those guys there. I think his culture building has been, unreal there. Sanford is not like a program with a winning history. He's got 3 of, some of their top winning seasons already in his time there, and he's likely, if they win the tournament, in the SoCon tournament, he's going to be somewhere else next year, most likely. And that's not, because he doesn't want to be at Sanford, because I truly believe he does want to be at Sanford, but somebody's going to give him a bag because he's really built a program. Now I have my thoughts on, I have slight doubts on whether or not his style of play is going to win at the next level, but I do know wherever he goes, or if he stays at Sanford, he's going to get the fan base, into it, and he's going to build a program that's, has a great culture. So I think Coach of the Year is more than just, X's and O's, obviously, in college, because he got all those guys there and he's done a great job with them. And yeah, there's just not really even a race at this point.
Yeah, this may be more of an NFL term when it comes to Coach of the Year, but, doing more with less is something that he was able to do. They do have a very talented roster, but Jermaine Marshall missed a bunch of time early in the season, and he went on a 17-game win streak without him. And then Staten McRae and Achor have missed time late, and they've still picked up some huge wins down the stretch. So, yeah, his style of play is one of the main reasons that they've been so successful all year. So this is his award.
Yeah, and in saying that, this has been a runaway year for him, really, just because they've been awesome. I mean, they really haven't missed a beat. They also obviously lost to I don't blame the Furman loss. That's a tough place to play, but they lost to Mercer and Wofford. I think the Wofford game was a game they didn't care about. Not to say that any coach doesn't care about games, but to a point, they sat some guys and obviously they'd won the league already. But I do think most years, I think Dan Earl deserves deserves all kinds of credit. I mean, they were picked 5th in the conference and they've been sitting second all year. Now they tied for second, and I don't think they cared about getting second in the tournament. Obviously, with that 2-3, they liked where they were. Sat Trey Bonham in in that game sat Miles J, who have both been dealing with injuries and whatnot. But I think he's done a great job. That staff's done a great job to go from a team that, wasn't really looked at as one of, they were obviously looked at as one of the top 5 teams. Now, granted, guys like what's his name, Coleman something. I don't want to disrespect him there, but he does a lot of really cool stuff on TikTok and stuff going to games. But he did a preview of the SoCon preseason and picked Chattanooga 7th. They were never going to be 7th. They were never going to be that bad. But they were, pretty consensus was that they were, the 5th best team, and we were a little high on them and even had them 4th. But yeah, to be basically sitting in 2nd all year without a doubt of it, is really impressive. And what he's done with his team has been impressive in their play style. I guess let's go to our all league picks. Like I've said before, I really like doing the 5 players on each team. No participation awards. We're not doing I think the SEC does like 10 players on their all SEC team. Like, oh, well, what are we doing here? Let's narrow it down. Your first team, I'll let you go. Tell me your 5. You obviously don't have to explain a Woolbright pick, but explain those guys that are, on the edge that you picked.
This is kind of the same thing we said at our midseason awards is Woolbright, Brown Jones, and Achor Chor. Maybe Brown Jones and Achor Chor haven't been as dominant as they were to that point, but I still think they deserve that nod on the first team. And then JP Pegues I left him off my first team at the midway point, and he's played his way. Just thinking about that Samford game where he just hit shot after shot to just will them back into it. And they lost, but he's played his way into this first team, and then so has Honor Huff. I mean, Honor Huff has been playing out of his mind recently. That 3-game stretch with Greensboro, Wofford, and somebody else I can't remember. He's just played so well, so he's played his way into a first team nod for me as only a sophomore, which is impressive.
Gosh, that is crazy. Crazy to think about, because it feels like he's been in the league forever because he had that freshman year and then sat out last year. But man, yeah, he's been good this year. Unfortunately, I have the same exact thing as you. I took Woolbright and MBJ are basically locks. I think Pegues is too. Actually, in saying that, I think Achor is too. I think Achor is because Sanford's got to have a guy on the first team. They've been so awesome. And I took Honor Huff as my last spot. I think you could have gone Jalen McCreary. You could have gone Corey Tripp. You could have gone Trey Bonham if Trey Bonham played more games. We had a question, or you were questioning if Bonham is eligible or not, and I think he is because Jake Stevens made it last year and he missed so much of SoCon play. But who knows? Maybe he's not, and maybe we're messing up. But I think Trey Bonham, if he played more this year than this last little stretch, he may have been my first team pick. And he actually was in our midseason awards. But yeah, Honor Huff's had a great finish.
He would have got it over Honor Huff if he had played,
Yeah, I think they were right there.
Those other 4 are mortal locks, or as close as you can get. But
right, I agree. I think they're all locks because their teams are so good and they've been the best guys. And then I think Huff and Bonham have kind of been 1A and 1B all year, and then Huff's had the better finish and Bonham's missed time. So that's why I went Huff. My second team, obviously Bonham's going to be on there. I've got Marcus Foster on there too. He's missed, those are the injury guys, Bonham and Foster. They've missed a lot of time. To me, they're both been awesome and going to be good in this tournament. Jalen McCreary's there as well. Corey Tripp is there for me as well. I think he's been very underrated this year. I think he's the reason Wofford has been as competitive as they have. He's been so good late game. And then I'm taking AJ State and McRae. I think Sanford deserves a guy on the second team too, in all honesty, just because of how dominant they've been this year. And he was really great early in the year. He kind of cooled down late in the conference play, and then he got hurt here recently, but I still think he's worthy of a second team All-SoCon pick because he kept their head above water early in the year and they kept winning.
Yeah, I have the same first 4. I have Foster, Bonham, McCreary, and Tripp, and then I went with Keyshawn Langley just because, it was early in the year we were talking about him being a potential player of the year because he was so hot. And then, he's kind of come back down to earth a little bit, but he's still been so good, and he
Yeah.
brings it defensively, not to the same extent as Kobe, but, where Kobe lacks offensively, Keyshawn picks up. And then where Keyshawn may lack defensively, Kobe picks it up. So, I do think it's kind of the same reasoning you have with State and McRae is UNC Greensboro have been very good too. And so they probably deserve a guy on the second team. So I went with Langley.
Yeah, I may. Now that you're saying that, I'm going to change my pick. I think I'm going to go Langley over State and McRae. The more I think about it, I had Langley third team, but I think he has been a little better than State and McRae this year, in my opinion, and he's definitely had a more consistent kind of. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, but I agree with you there. So
This
third
is
team,
this is confirmation for everybody watching that Jack is cheating off my paper, not vice
yeah,
versa.
yeah. Well, you kind of talked me into it there. I was like, man, yeah, I do kind of like Langley better than State and McRae. And the reason I'm saying that, it doesn't really matter, second team or third team. Um, if you're an All-SoCon player, you're an All-SoCon player. But um, that means I'm going to take. I guess I just split up the Sanford guys for some reason, but now I'm going to take my third team. It's going to be State McRae and Rylan Jones. I think Rylan Jones' stats may not show it, but his impact. He is one guy I don't think Sanford would be nearly as good without. Where we've talked at times about their being almost injury proof at times. I don't think Rylan Jones is replaceable because he's just makes such good decisions, and his impact does not just show up on the stat sheet. Then I went Jaden Seymour. I think he's been the best player for ETSU in my opinion. I wanted to give ETSU some love. I didn't want to leave seven, 7, 9, and 10 all off. And I think he's put up good numbers. And I think him, Peterson, and Asamoah have all had similar years. I think Seymour has the defensive edge on both of them, and he's had the efficiency edge on offense. So I took him. Then I took Russell Jones Jr. Had to give him some love. Obviously, Western. He would probably be a second team pick if Western had won some of these close games that they've lost, but they didn't. So I'm putting him third team. And then the last pick was probably the hardest for me. I've gone back and forth with tons of people. I took Sam Alexis, and I don't even know that I feel great about it. He had a great early season and then kind of fell off a little bit to the end of the year where he was still a good player, but he wasn't the level of player he was early in the year where him and Honor Huff was carrying him early in the year for Chattanooga. But yeah, I took him, and I think that spot could go all kinds of different places. I don't feel strongly about taking him there. Not to hate on him, but I just think there's so many guys deserving of a third team vote, and that's why it's so hard to take these.
Yeah, I have obviously something similar. I've got Russell Jones, Staten McRae, Sam Alexis, Rylan Jones, and then I went with Kobe Langley, just because for
Mm,
me it's you can't leave your defense player of the year off the
yeah, true.
SoCon third team. So I went with him, but like you said, Rylan Jones has been what makes Sanford go all year. Sam Alexis, you know, could have been up a little higher if he kind of played his way out of it late. But he was amazing, in early conference play and out of conference. And then Staten McRae was huge without Marshall, and Russell Jones has just been a consistent guy for that Western team. So that's my five.
Yeah, so let's talk snubs. Guys that could have been
Mhm.
there as well. You said Jermaine Marshall, talking about him. I don't think he has any shot of making an All-SoCon team just because of time he's missed. But I think we both know he would have been if he had played this year. Jaden Campbell, I think, had a decent case. He's been really consistent this year. Um, Jaden Parker, my defense player, I did leave mine off. Kobe Langley for me as well. I think AJ Smith had a good chance of making it, and he may make it. He has good counting stats. Um, I don't know that I think I would rather reward winning on other teams just because they've lost so many games. And then again, give me that Quentin Laura Brown love. I like showing him love on here because I think he's had a really good year. But again, I don't think the Citadel is going to get guys on there because while they've played really good in my opinion for their talent level and they've lost a ton of close games, I don't think
Mhm.
the Citadel's going to get guys on there. I had a tough time picking anybody there. Who do you have any other snubs you can think of there?
I put Alex Williams on my honorable mentions
Yeah,
just because he has been good all year, and I think we get caught up in his suspension and missing time, but I mean he was so solid for that team all season. Um, Trey Jackson, I put him on there. I think we just expected a lot more from Trey Jackson. As elite of a shooter as
True.
he is, you could say that he had kind of a down year, but a down year for Trey Jackson is a good year for a lot of guys. I do have AJ Smith on there too. I thought Elijah Morgan deserved a mention. He's been good for them too. Jaden
Yeah.
Campbell has played his way almost onto my third team, but I just barely had to leave him off. And then DJ Campbell for Western Carolina, um, one of the more solid guys in that rotation for them, playing alongside Woolbright. He's been huge for them, so I put him on there too.
DJ Campbell will be an all-league player next year, I think. They're gonna lose
Absolutely.
so much. He's gonna have a huge year probably. I don't know if they'll win a lot, so maybe he won't, but we'll see what they're recruiting and transfer portal and stuff. But yeah, he's gonna have a big year next year. I'm a big fan of him. All freshman team. Uh, David Thomas and Jake Davis
Yep.
obviously are locks to both of us. But the other three, I kind of went back and forth with a lot of different guys, but I ended up settling on, I think, Miles Che. He was my freshman of the year preseason, and Trey Bonham messed that up, but also himself. He didn't have, he had a pretty bad, poor stretch, a freshman stretch. I wouldn't say a bad stretch because he is a freshman, where he, for so long in the year he didn't have a big impact. But I took him because he was so good early year and he's been so good to finish the year for him. And there's not a ton of guys putting up big numbers. Then I took Riley Allenspach. I wanted to give another freshman from Sanford love.
Ooh,
I was between him and Josh Holloway. Allenspach, all his Kim Palm numbers are better. He has really good numbers in small usage, and I do think he's been integral to, what did I just say? He's been big to their success there because I
yeah.
think, not having Marshall for a lot of the year and then, not having a chore. I think he's done great. And he beat out a guy that I thought might have a role this year in Zach Loveday. I heard Baylor, 7-footer, has some skill. I thought Zach Loveday might have a big role in this team, and he hasn't. And that's because Riley Allenspach's been really good. Then my last pick is you always got to go in this day age, the VMI guy that put up a ton of numbers because they're not very good and they're all freshmen. And that's sad that that's the way it is nowadays with them being all freshmen. But I didn't fall for that. I took Stephen Oluwani because I
Oh,
think he's put up good numbers. He's put up like 7 and 7 or something like that. But I think he's played winning basketball all year. And I think legitimately, you go to the guys from last year's team with VMI that put up good numbers and then transferred, and that's how it works almost at VMI in this day and age. But they immediately, left. And this year, very few of them are having big years. I can't believe I'm blanking on all the names just because I've got so many names up here. A few of them are the guy who went to Stonehill. I hate that I can't remember his name. This really makes me mad. But whatever. The guy who went to Stonehill was having a big year. But their leading scorer last year, he was barely playing where he went. Just, some guys are just putting up numbers because somebody has to. I think Stephen Oluwani, whether it be at VMI or to school at this level, he's going to be a good player. He's impressed me a lot, and I think he makes a difference on both ends. So I wanted to show him love because it's hard to be a freshman 5-man, and it just is. Your body's not ready, and his body's not really ready either. But he's really made an impact with his athleticism. So I put him on there. More of a morals vote. I didn't want to give the you know 12 point a game normal VMI guy that's been on there the last like 3 years. One of those guys. I didn't feel like giving them a vote.
well, I did give him a vote, and his name is Tyron Cook.
Yeah,
um, I just thought,
he deserves it though as a freshman. Put up those numbers. I'm joking a little bit because that is impressive as a freshman, but there's also no other options.
I do have Jake Davis, David Thomas, and Miles Che too. But then I did give Tyron Cook the nod. I just like the scoring punch that he gave them, especially as we got into conference play and things like that. He just gave that team a bit of and Olawani did too. But he just gave that team a bit of a spark that it needed. They looked just like some days they just looked disinterested, and Tyron Cook always seemed to have that motor to him. And
Yeah,
then I went kind of similar to Olawani. I went with Cooper Bowser just because
Okay.
he has stepped into a kind of a limited role for this Furman team. And as you started to say Riley Allensbach, I started kicking myself a little bit because he maybe deserved the nod. But I did go with Cooper Bowser. Cooper Bowser. Maybe I'm just getting caught up in the ceiling of what Cooper Bowser could be when
Right.
his body does develop. Like he could be scary in this league. And, maybe that didn't come into production this year, but I do think he'll be a very good player one day, and so I gave him the vote.
Yeah, you're right. I don't hate that pick at all because I think he's going to be a good player. And there's been plenty of times this year where I thought they should just go to him as the number one big, and now they never really have, and probably won't at this
Mm-mm.
point. But yeah, I think that's not a bad pick at all. I guess that's it. We don't have any other picks. We've gone an hour and a half here. This is the second episode, so we'll have like a 58-minute episode and then a 30-minute episode posted. Um, split them up. First one will be the tournament preview. This one will be the awards picks. But we appreciate everyone who's listened this year. We're gonna keep going here in Asheville at the tournament. The plan is every night of the tournament we're gonna do some sort of live show. Obviously not an hour and a half long like this has been, but we're gonna try to keep it under an hour like we have all year. This is the longest one by far we've done. But we want you guys to be in the chat, be active, ask, and it will be easier right after games to be active and you know make your comments. We'll put them up on the screen here. We can talk about them, all that stuff, your questions, things of that nature. So it'll be fun. Really excited for a fun weekend in Nashville. Really appreciate everyone who keeps watching. We already looking at the 58-minute live we just did. We got a ton of views on it. So I'm glad that people love this, love the SoCon, love covering SoCon hoops, and we appreciate everyone. So we'll see you guys on Thursday. Friday. Yeah, Friday. Ignore that. This is the episode.
I'll
Fuck.
be there on Thursday for anybody
Yeah,
that wants
you'll
to
see
come
Matt.
hang out with me and watch
All right.
the women's games.